Hey everyone,
Hey.
welcome to Sight Club, to Tarot by Janine, to Esoteric Atlanta, and to Elizabeth from TikTok. And we may have Huna Flash joining us in a moment, and so maybe Mel as well, but I'm not sure. Anyway, it's great to see all you ladies, and it's great to catch up and to do our deep dives into the numbers and into the tarot cards and into all the crazy things that are happening. So Brice, did you have a question you wanted to kick off with Janine?
I always have so many questions I want to kick off with Janine. I'm actually going to start with one first that is for my channel. Every time I do a Mystery Monday now, all my comments underneath are like, ask Janine, ask Janine, ask Janine. So last Monday, we released a story on the singer Connie Converse, who disappeared in the 70s. And it was very mysterious how she disappeared. She was on TV in the 50s with Walter Cronkite, but her music now become like this cult celebrity following. I might have to bleep that word out, but anyway, what my question is, people don't know if she removed herself from this world, if y'all know what I'm saying, she chose to leave, or if she decided to take on a new identity. She did struggle with things like depression, which they did not know about back then. There was also speculation that she might have been a lesbian, which back then would have been a very different story than it is today. And many people think she might possibly still be alive. And of course, there are people that think there is ulterior motives with her disappearance, because she was loosely connected to people that we now know are on the other side of this game we're playing. If y'all know what I'm talking about, the dark side. So.
And so who is this person again? Say the name.
Her name is Connie Converse. She was born Elizabeth Converse.
Okay. And are you sure she was born female?
That was a question. That was something somebody asked. They said that she was not, but she lived such a long time ago, or, that
she was born a male. And she was definitely connected in a family somehow, like dark cult related.
Her father was a very strict Baptist pastor, and we've been breaking down the fundamentalists. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was right under, and she was born a male. So yeah. Let's see. She doesn't look like she took herself off the earth plane. Is that what's being said?
That's one of the speculations. Nobody knows what's happened to her.
Okay. It had something to do with her father, or a male figure that was dominating her life.
Oh, wow.
So somehow she was like somehow a prisoner to that energy somehow. Okay, but that goes along with those dark cultures, right?
Yeah, that's so fascinating. Somebody suspected that in the comments. So, and she came from a very strict fundamentalist family, which we know all these organizations have their ties, even though they might, from the general public, might seem to be like good, they're not. So that's fascinating. Yeah, bless her heart, or his heart. They lived a very rough life.
Yeah, they feel like they might have escaped because we've got this and this. I feel like somebody helped her escape the clutches of the dominating figure. Usually the emperor I've been seeing as good, but not when you ask a question like that and it's clarified by that. So these two together can be very difficult. So the emperor's somebody who might be lording over someone, and with dark cult practices, probably from birth, because it was underneath her as a male from birth. So she was born into a family that maybe SRA was present and things like that. And she had help escaping by a plan that played out.
So her end of her life was probably, I'm assuming she's passed now, because she would be close to 100 at this point. But there was a possibility the end of her life was better than the first part of her life.
Yeah, she lived in hiding for at least 18 years is what I get. Does that make any sense?
Yes, that does. And her music was very sorrowful. So y'all want to check out Connie Converse's music. That's fascinating, Janine. Thank you so much. My subscribers will absolutely love hearing that. Thank you.
Okay, right on.
Brice, she's not related at all to the Converse trainer company, the
I
Empire,
don't
is she?
think so. I didn't find any connection in my research between her and her family and the actual Converse family. I would assume that the Converse last name at one point might have been not a common last name, but maybe not as rare as we think it is. And it's just a similar last name. But I didn't come across any of that in my research, but that would be fascinating if there was a relationship, because we know that's a huge company.
Right.
I don't know, would the cards tell us if they were related to the Converse family?
Looks like they were. Because that would be celebrating abundance. I said, what was the connection with the name and the brand? So abundance. So that's a big abundant brand.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think they were.
Awesome. Makes sense.
And her name, so it's Elizabeth Converse, but goes by Connie, is that right?
It goes by Connie. When she ran off to New York, she was in university, and then she ran off to New York in like the 50s, and she changed her first name to Connie. Her friends were calling her Connie as a rip off of her last name, and so her friends called her Connie, but her birth name was Elizabeth, or her new birth name was Elizabeth.
Yeah.
So.
And Connie is Connie, is that right? Okay. Well, Elizabeth Converse. Elizabeth is really interesting. 88 is Trump. Converse is 101. Comes to system. Comes to Melchizedek. Interesting enough, the soccer player here in the UK that's on the front and back pages of the newspaper because of the Euros is Harry Kane, comes to 101. But if you do Elizabeth Converse, it takes you to 189. 189 is July the 4th, and we've just had July the 4th. So that's seems appropriate that you've asked that. So yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Hi, Huna. We saw you pop in. Hello.
Huna's here. There he is. We'll give him an intro. We just introduced you, buddy, but we'll introduce you now. So this is Huna Flash. So I've done a number of episodes with Huna. So we wanted to invite Huna into our round table. He likes to call his versions of it light table. So Huna, this is Janine. Janine, this is Huna. Huna, this is Brice. Brice, this is Huna. Elizabeth, this is Huna. Huna, this is Elizabeth. So welcome.
Nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. Tom, good to see you.
Good to see you, buddy.
Good to meet you all.
I'm loving the threads today, man. Very good.
Oh, this whole thing? Yeah,
You can look good in it. You probably look good in a bin liner if you had to, buddy. But that was great. So
I don't know that you can skip the thong. All right.
Skip the thong.
No, just well, it's good to be here, and I have followed a little bit for Janine and Brice. Michelle, is it?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. Sorry, I'm sorry, I don't know you, but nice to meet you.
Right.
And
she shared the platform with you for the President Trump birthday message. So she's a big TikToker.
Oh, I see.
She's the young one who does the whole TikTok thing.
Yeah, she's got all that down. So
on the 4th of July, Tom and I were like, "Now tell us about this TikTok." Showing our age, so she's the young one.
Elizabeth, did you have a question for Janine you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I just came up with one. So recently I saw a video on TikTok that was saying that Joan Rivers is possibly still alive. So my kind of question is she? And if she is, was her whole, because she kind of outed Michelle or Big Mike, whoever you want to call her. She kind of outed her. And then, it was said that she passed after that. So I was kind of wondering if that was part of the movie or, that's kind of.
She's hiding. She's hiding from these guys. So that's our state card, our cult card. She's hiding from, and she was placed to out. She was intended to, she had a mission to out Big Mike.
Gotcha.
And it put her in jeopardy because that was before they rounded those guys up.
Yeah.
put her in jeopardy. So it's going to be hard for her to come back out, and she's not in the greatest of health, is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
It's here, so she might not resurface.
Gotcha. The video I've seen is her. She's hiding from the camera, but someone took the shot that they got of her and matched it directly to another picture of her when she was alive. And I was like, that's very convincing. So I never, looked into it otherwise, but that's super interesting.
I remember
Go on, bro. Yeah.
I remembered when that happened, and it was almost like she kind of started to plant a seed in people's head. Yeah. Because that was before anything had been exposed. That was before number 16+1. That was before any of that. And so her saying that, it was like on TMZ, like a big tabloid, it kind of started planting seeds in people's heads, whether they knew it or not. And that's important, I think, in any type of change where you have to plant these seeds first for a lot of people before the table can be knocked over, before people are ready to see the whole big picture, if that makes sense. So
I feel like we're going to be shocked by the amount of people that are a part of the movie, and obviously the ones that aren't. But I'm getting more surprised by the people that actually are a part of the movie and part of the plan, which is encouraging.
Yeah.
There was that clip that you're referring to, I think, Elizabeth. It was with is it Clive Davis, the big producer? I think he's and they got into the car and she was trying to hush away, but it looked like it was probably set up. And there was even a guy that looked very similar to Vincent Fushka, the guy with the hat that's supposed to be maybe JFK Jr., etc. But he was there. Well, someone that looked like him was there. So it was all quite interesting. And you remember that Joan Rivers was on The Apprentice with President Trump, so she knows him, and there's all of that. And I've just done her numbers, so thanks for bringing her up, because Joan is Joan, isn't it? That's correct, Joan. Mm-hmm. So that comes to 40, which comes to RV. Rivers, so River is 72, which is money, which is first, like America First, Monday. But you add the S, takes you to 91. 91 comes to POTUS, comes to Future, comes to Liberty, comes to Space Force. Add those together, comes to 131. 131 comes to John F. Kennedy. And I always mention this, but at the end of Back to the Future 3, the Trump train, is number 131. And there's a lot of characters on the board for 131. So that's another beautiful one that you just brought up there, Elizabeth. So Joan Rivers, 131. So maybe we'll see her very close at the end, but who knows? Maybe she got on the med bed. We'll see,
There you go.
Huna, over to you, buddy. You have a question for Janine?
Well, I did know I forgot it. So I was wanting to just kind of settle in for a moment here and just see.
All right, buddy. Yeah, take
what the platform is doing here. I understand the movies, the movies being played out, and well, lately I've been watching a lot of Netflix, but just researching. Let me say researching, not really, watching, but researching and seeing some very interesting pieces that are correlating here with what's happening now that had been filmed earlier. So I'm just grounding into this if I can for a moment longer. Maybe I'll remember my question.
Yeah. Whenever
I had a question for Janine about a month ago. Might come
Janine,
back.
talking about other people that may be in the movie and resurfacing and whether they're good or bad, etc. I think Brice was saying that you've mentioned this lady before and others have been saying it. So I might not say her name right, but AOC, Cortez. Can you do a little bit more on that, on your findings, because others might not have seen it when you spoke about her previously?
So I wouldn't have thought in a million years, like Brice, that surprised me, but I got that tip from Michael Jaco, actually, who was absolutely sure that she was, and he seemed to even have intel. I can't say for sure he did, but he sure seemed like he was absolutely sure. She was a part of the movie and an actress. Well, the actress part, already everybody was thinking that, because she didn't seem like a politician. She seemed more like an actress. And a lot of people have said that, have even traced her back to various different things. So I think that part's true regardless. And then I did a layout on it on Tarot by Janine, and sure enough, she did look like she was part of the movie and placed where she was to actually make the Dems look bad, actually, which she did is doing a great job, because she's making them look absolutely absurd with their so far left that it's dangerous, you know, like that kind of left. And I'm not saying there's a lot of policies that are like started out to be good, that you left policies, right? And my whole life I was like a peace-loving hippie. So, you know what I mean? I love trees and all that kind of stuff, and I hug trees and I love nature. So I was actually considered like somebody who would have thought the left was the way to go. I was definitely not considered a right-leaning person. I would be like a peace-loving hippie leftist. Okay, but then when I realized it'd been hijacked by absolutely scary forces and used against humans and taken way too far, and like, so they take good things and invert them. That's what the bad guys do, you know. I'm just going to call them the bad guys because we got to be careful. So the bad guys literally ruined anything good that could have been considered. So I'm just trying to say there was some good things, but then they took it and then they went way over here and turned it against us. And that's where the problem is, and what a lot of lefties have to figure out, who think they were left. And that's why they're having a lot of trouble going over here. Seeing Mr. T as a good guy, because they spent their whole life trying to be more like liberal. Okay, but that word's now been hijacked too. So it's like, oh my goodness, like what we thought was good was actually taking all our rights away. We thought we were looking for more rights, and it actually went completely off scale and we took away rights entirely, where you thought you were doing some good in the world and trying to make the world more tolerant. And it turned out to be the exact opposite, which is exactly what the dark cult does. We're going to call it the cult. That's what they do. They is flip everything and turn it into demonic.
Yeah.
Right. So what were we asking again?
Just, I think you clarified it really. It was just, it was because I hadn't seen what you said about it, but you've given a great summary of that. I've got one to ask about, actually, one character. Also as well, I saw a gentleman by the name of Negative 48 talk about the same thing as well. So he said exactly the same thing. And when you said tree comes to 48, which comes to Tom. So he's like, well, virtue hugs, there you go. And if you do trees, like you say, you love trees comes to 67, which is exchange, which is water and reset. So I wanted to put that out there. So Matt Hancock. So Matt Hancock has famously stepped down, or been part of the movie, asked to be stepped down about 9 or 10 days ago here in England. There's thoughts now going around that he may be arrested very soon for crimes against humanity, and I guess that would be a public thing. Can you see anything on that? Is that going to be part of, you know, one of the triggers to set things off, Matt Hancock going down?
He looks like he's already rounded up to me.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I mean, maybe in terms of a public offering, a public view on that. Yeah. I concur that he's probably been taken ages ago.
He's been taken already. I'm not necessarily getting that. I get that might be a consideration, but they're being cautious about things like that. I think they really want to make sure, they being maybe the Alliance or people working on behalf of humanity, or the White Hats, or whatever, lots of names you could call them. I believe they want to be super cautious so as not to do anything too alarming. I guess even that word is bad for the algorithms, but if you can imagine, but they don't want to do anything that'll tip the boat too much until they're sure it'll be well received. So that's maybe why we haven't seen those public takedowns.
Yeah. So it's a timing thing again, yeah. Timing.
I hope it's really soon myself too. Like I'm ready to just take them all down in public, but I don't think the good guys think that's a good idea just yet. But they're because that card's being cautious, careful, and slowly considering something. And this card considers from a safe, so they're on a safe platform and they're looking out at it as they're thinking it's a potential. And they know that a lot of the truthers would love it and celebrate, but then there's a bunch of other people that might think it was like they wouldn't understand yet.
Okay.
You're handling humanity with kid gloves, you
Yeah.
know, we don't want to upset.
Yeah.
And we know that I believe that most people are pretty level-headed and can, even if they're not like totally where we are in awareness, they know something's wrong. But you have, it's like this squeaky wheel gets the oil. You have these people that will literally like lose their mind if their illusion is crumbled. And those are the people that could hurt us, you know, could go out and just freak out like a temper tantrum. And so I guess that's why they're in charge and we're not, because I would have already pulled the plug by now. I guess that's why
pull that plug.
the universe put in charge.
Exactly.
So
you said alarm, Janine, and that is interesting because that comes to 45, and President Trump is the 45th president, and 45 also comes to effect, like the domino effect or the ripple effect, but also it comes to spade. So the suit of spades in the deck of cards, spade is the most powerful spiritual card, and that's 45, which is, you know, POTUS 45. But if you do alarming, takes you to 75, but that also comes to funding, which makes me think of the RV, etc. And President Trump said way back last year, he said 75 is a very important number. He said 75 is a very important number. And he was talking about the quantum computers that they put together, that they publicly told the people that these quantum centers that they'd put together and announced, but they were funded at $75 million each. But the word funding comes to 75, and he emphasized it. He said it's very important, the number 75. And now he is a 75 as well, which is obviously important as well.
I have a question.
Hey, Huna, there he is. Go for it, man.
I remembered now. So Janine, I represent the House of Huna, which Huna means one in the many, many in the one light in the many, many lights in the one. It's our society of quantum healers and expansionists and spiritual ceremonial people who are skilled in the light arts, let me say. We know all about the dark arts. We also know all about the light arts. Now, I have a few questions, but I'll just start with this one and maybe spread a couple out, because I had a question for you. Now, can I say the dark places underground and the tunnels?
Yeah, we know what that means. Just say that. Yeah, we know what that is. Yeah.
Can I say it on this channel? Like the dumbs?
I don't know. Is that word? Is that maybe we should just say the dark places underground?
Okay.
Yeah.
I said it anyway.
Yeah.
I just said it.
It's YouTube.
Brice will believe that one.
Yeah, I can use any words too, so that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Janine, I have Hunas in 29 countries that are fully aligned, and that I've done ceremonies with in person. And so we're going to the places, the dark places. We're looking for access into the dark places in the tunnels physically to set up our ceremonies to reverse what has been done in those tunnels, and not just energetically, but these stargates and these portals, to close them and raise the frequencies, seal them. To do this recently. Now, next week, I will be in the Netherlands with my Hunas in the Netherlands, in The Hague next week, beginning to make our plans. My question is, do you see us, the House of Huna, being there in the dark places, in many places around the world, to do this sealing work of these stargates and these portals, low vibration, second dimension stuff? It's quite a different question, I'm afraid. So
You bet. You bet. That's a closure card. It's a full circle, something coming full circle. So that's what you're representing when you ask that question. You're representing taking the world back to that innocent time before what you're calling the dark hats polluted the world with their insidiousness. You know what I mean? And their yucky ways. you know, for lack of a better word, what they've been doing underground, right under our feet and everywhere in all these different institutions that we trusted, like spiritual institutions and up to the highest levels of any kind of government's all was shadowed by this dark hat activity, right? So yes, you guys are huge about it. It's huge. And years and years ago, when I was studying astrology, I remember getting that the indigenous peoples of the world were going to be the ones that step forward in this really dark times that we were going to head into. And we thought it was around this time, year-wise even. When I was studying, we were like, it was about 25 years ago, we were studying this and we were like about 25 years or 23 years from now, the world's going into this really dark place. We saw all kinds of things and upheaval. We didn't know it was, deep state, dark cult related. We didn't know to call it any of that, but we just knew upheaval. And then it was all going to get cleared over time by groups of healers, in particular, First Nations and Indigenous peoples. And they were going to step forward, take their rightful place, because anybody who knows about these things would know that those first peoples, like for instance, North American Indigenous, Australian Indigenous, sounds like you're from an Indigenous community. Is that correct?
New Zealand.
A first person, right? So those people were going to take the lead spiritually to really finish off the clearing. And so that's exactly what you're doing. And this is the biggest card in the deck. And you have to close off what these guys have been up to. And they've mostly been targeting, by the way, children and humans from Indigenous communities because they're have been made to be vulnerable on purpose through all these government things that have happened over hundreds of years, right? So they're made to become vulnerable because
millions of years,
billions, because their energy is so special to the dark forces because it's so magical. So they want to keep that down, hidden, and pillage it for themselves.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I'm Lemurian. I'm a Lemurian light being. So New Zealand, we're from first Lemuria. And so we've been tracking these guys for a long time, certainly in this lifetime for myself. And so there was, the red alert came out. Everything was written in red ink this past week. A lot of the intel coming out in the text is written in red ink. So the red dragon energy is what we know as a divine director. And a divine director is an energy source, not necessarily just a dragon, but an energy source that kind of like directs and speaks directly to what is going to be done. And so this red ink has been showing up this past week in a lot of the intel online and things. And so that's an energy we work with. Obviously, the Lemurian dragon families from the Philippines, they're Lemurian dragon families. They're not draconian, but they were infiltrated. And so we have been tracking these, of course, the dark ones. We all do. Everybody do. We had this experience with them since first Atlantis, which is, there were 4 Atlantises after Lemuria. And so where all these things started getting distorted, we call distorted light. And you're exactly right. When you say, take it back to the time of innocence, and the indigenous people are known as the 5 root races of humanity from first Lemuria. And so taking it back to first Lemuria through these ceremonies and these protocols of our Lemurian based is taking it back to a time before confusion and a time where there's undistorted light. So you were just right on it then. And so thank you. I have a couple more questions. I kind of spread it out over this hour, but thank you.
Huna, there's something that came up with on the numbers with what Janine was saying. So when you said DUMBS, that comes up to 59. And remember, like this, everything is a reversal. So Dragon is also 59, which is a reversal. It's Joker card. But if you do reversal, the word reversal comes to 100. So it's a full, not a 180, but it's 100%. It's complete. And like Janine said with that card, it's like it's a completion. It needs to be done. But if you add them together, so if you do DUMBS 59, add reversal, it comes to 159, which comes to the Chinese elders. And you were talking about that with them, with the dragon families, etc. So it all, that all is all connected. Yeah.
So talk about just one thing. I work with counterclockwise, right? This Lemurian, that's a relationship to nature. It's just counterclockwise, so it's reversing everything. When Portugal made their announcement of the Jassara and Nasara, notice that it's moving counterclockwise. So it's going from Portugal back the other direction and coming back around to New Zealand and Australia. So it's actually moving from their west to east and it's going counterclockwise. When I saw that, I just smiled and I laughed, okay. Yeah, we know we're in the age of Lemuria right now, the age of Lemuria 5. That's why we don't speak of Aquarius, because that's Atlantis. And so as we're sharing, this is very interesting. So everything being reversed and returning to innocence, returning to the blueprint. So just a little note on that, but fantastic.
Lemuria 5 comes to 121, it comes to Golden Jubilee, comes to Revelation, comes to Second Coming. In folklore, in popular culture, it comes to Gotham City, Batman, Trump is Batman, Robin, JFK Jr., etc. All of that. So, yeah, very good.
You're right on it.
And 5 is also a reversal. So 5 is 42. 5 and 9, both of them come to 42. 42 is time reversal as well, because it's a reversal of the 24-hour clock. So
when you said 75 a minute ago,
yes,
of course that's 13. Now, 13 is really 12 around 1. And just recently in the 28th day calendar of Lemuria, the name of the 13th month has been revealed. The name of the planet is revealed too. So, it was Gaia, no longer Gaia. Right? So the name of the planet is Matia, which means the planet of new light. Matia, you are in Matia now, it's the light of Matia. So that's how we speak to it. But this 13th month, the name of that 13th month is Ma'ita. And this 13th month is a crystal month in the 28-day calendar. And it's very precise, very super intelligent. It's incredible. So when you said 75 and the 13 came up, so if you were hearing this name Matia, M-A-T-E-A, this is the Lemurian language. And it's and what you get from that, and then Ma'ita, M-A-I-T-A, which is the 13th month of the 28-day calendar. If you do some of those, but it's very.
Well, 13 is 99, which is Patriot, it's Ascension, it's Rapture. Again, going back to comics, Spider-Man is 99, it's Patriot. Jupiter's 99. If you do 13th with add a T and the 28 on top, it comes to 127. 127 comes to the Ace of Spades. So we spoke about the spade and 45, etc. That triggered onto 45 to 75.
Okay, so that's the Ace of Spades is the beginning of the final rotation of the Universal 9. In our universal.
Yeah, Ace is 9. The word Ace is 9. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We're in the last rotation of the 9 then. So when you were speaking that, so this is fantastic.
Good news all around.
Yeah. I mean, my questions are a little bit different than everybody else's, obviously, but
they're great.
I just kind of understand where we're having not when I ask the same questions, you know what I mean? But it'll be multi-dimensional and so so I have another question later.
It kind of brings me to a question I had, because we spend my boyfriend and I spend a lot of time in India, and my boyfriend has heavily been studying like the Cassiopeians, the Palladians. He's very much he follows the law of one. And I've noticed, and I'm trying to figure out how to ask this because I don't want this to seem like spiritual manipulation, which I know a lot of CULTs will do, but I know that this is referenced in the Bible, in the book of Revelation. And I know that this is also referenced in the raw material, the law of one. I've noticed before we went into shutdown in 2020, around the age of 34, I started having really bad arthritis. My health was getting really, really bad. Have always had digestive problems. But immediately when we went into our lockdown, all of a sudden my health started to reverse. I'm 38 now, and I have had no flare-ups from arthritis. I feel like I'm getting younger. Even my boyfriend has noticed as well. He also is starting to look younger. And we know, we kind of figured out that this whole rapture thing that they talk about is really just your vibrational consciousness rising versus the body lifting up into the sky, as terrifying as that would be, as the church wants to scare us. And a lot of these spiritual works, not just in Christianity, but in other walks of life, have talked about when this time comes, human DNA, when the vibration raises, will be able to heal itself in a lot of ways. We'll almost be able to slow down an aging process. My question is this true? And is this starting to happen to some of us? Because I will say, Janine, I even said from your videos last year to now, you look younger as well. Like, I mean, it's, and Todd, and Tom, we've talked about it as well. Like, you look like people are starting to look younger. And I don't know if it's just that we're happier because we understand more or what's going on, but okay.
Benjamin Button.
Yeah, exactly.
I attribute it to, so I turned 60 and I really accepted my second Saturn return.
Mhm.
And I embraced, because every 30 years or 29 and a half years in your birth chart, you face a huge life lesson that, I mean, you face them all the time anyway, but in particular, right, the Saturn return. And I took it as, okay, I embraced and dropped everything that wasn't working and jumped on what I knew was truth and gave it my 1000%. So that's what I attribute it to, because I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I wouldn't do anything different. I love everything that's happening right now, even though it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's beautifully revealing, and truths being spoken, and true healers are showing themselves. And I have 2 Indigenous cultures in my blood, as well as many European. Like, I'm like literally Heinz 57, which I'm actually really proud of. I have so many.
Yeah.
I have European, I have Eastern European, like gypsy blood, what used to be called gypsy, which I know might be derogatory for some people's ears, but I love that word. You know,
I think I've got some of that as well. I've been
right.
told.
I got like Roma, maybe. I got all kinds of cool stuff, and then 2 Canadian Indigenous peoples and French Canadian, you know, like, so to me, it's like, we're all coming into ourselves if that's how we see it. It's not the end of the world. It's the
Right.
end of the repression.
Yeah.
Could be the end of times, in a way, the end of the dark ones
Mhm.
pillaging us as a human race. So nothing could be more exciting.
So it's like our light is able to kind of shine through, and that's what's maybe correcting a lot of some stuff. Why people are looking younger, are not feeling so bogged down anymore. It's because they're able to step into, there's less confusion in the head.
See that magician? So the way I see that card is, this guy's channeling universal love, and he's manifesting with it. We're starting to realize that we're actual manifestors. A lot of humans forgot that. Okay. You know, a lot of humans didn't know that. Some of them do know that, but a lot of them didn't. And that's why they want to repress us and keep us in the dark, in lots of ways in the dark, from knowing how powerful we are. We're literal manifestors. And
So we're finding our power back. We're getting
we're taking our power back. And
Okay.
even the fact that we tolerate like supposed royals,
Mhm.
like really, like wake up, royals. What, we're gonna bow to some potentially
Right.
whatever
Right.
Queen Elizabeth is. Like, you just have to feel her energy to know that's nothing good going on there.
Right.
And creepy. And we're like paying for like, the UK is paying for the livelihood of, and Europeans are paying for the livelihood of these like absolutely scary
Mhm.
dark ones. Okay. And they're bowing to them. I can't even fathom it. So we're waking up, And it's so exciting. It's so exciting.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Because it literally, it has felt like inside for both of us, for my boyfriend and me, and for you guys we see on Zoom, because we're all just in our own little corners of the world, just seems so much, there's just so much more life and youth within people now than there was when this all started. And I haven't had an arthritic flare up, knock on wood, since all this started, you know, and it just feels liberating. So that makes a lot of sense.
Janine, you said something there about when you were following up what Brice had said. So the very first one we did was Elizabeth Converse, and you said your Saturn return. So Saturn is 93, comes to Flotus, comes to Kingship, comes to Nazareth, comes to Hungarian. Me and Brice spoke about that a few days ago. It comes to Bushnell. Return comes to 96, which Huna's mentioned, Atlantis, the change, etc. Spaceship comes to 96. February comes to 96. But yeah, those together comes to 189, which comes to Elizabeth Converse. And we did that right at the beginning. And you said her other name, Brice, is Connie. Mm-hmm. So if I heard you correctly, Janine, you said second Saturn return at first, and then you said Saturn return. Second is 60s, diamond, it's orange. It's also Connie. So second Saturn return comes to 249, and also Connie Elizabeth Converse comes to 249, which I thought was interesting because we started there. But also you said something really amazing when you talked about Heinz 57, and you mentioned the word magician. So the word magic comes to 33, which is Don, as in Donald Trump. And magician comes to 57, which is also Tesla. So Tesla, the magician, magnets, magnetism, maga, etc., etc. And then if you do Heinz 57, I've done this ages ago, but this is a great reminder of it. The word Heinz comes to 62, which is Nikola. So Heinz 57 is literally Nikola Tesla, which comes to 119, which comes to redemption. So yeah, I thought that was really cool what you brought up there.
Yeah.
Tom, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Would you mind bringing the number for Matia, Matea?
Say that again, please, Huna.
Matea.
Matea, is that correct?
Yeah, it means planet of new light, but this is the name of this planet now. But just interesting to see. And I can do it myself, but I'd rather not. Just this is fun.
So
I think we did it before, but it's a good refresher because I won't remember what it is off the top of my head.
No, I have never spoken of the name of the planet online.
Have you not? What's
No,
the other similar word that you told me before? You mentioned Matia, but there's other ones that you said a few other sounding words that sounded similar to it earlier, but we
Just now, like today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Maita.
Mahita, maybe it was that then.
Yeah.
There was one that sounded like that we did before. Anyway, Matia comes to 40, which comes to Joan. So Elizabeth brought up Joan Rivers earlier, and 40 also comes to RV, the revaluations of RV. So it's, again, it's on point there. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Will we be told that's the new name? Will they ever say, hey, will they ever tell us like our home's new name is Matia? How will
many have been speaking it lately. We've been sharing it, but people are still getting the memo on this. So
I doubt CNN's going to tell us this, but
I mean, they still have the show Gaia, right? They still have the show Gaia, and Gaia's no more. So hey, they need a new show.
There you go. So we should start calling it that, Matia. We live on Planet Matia.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Did you have a question, Elizabeth? You were about to ask one, I think, a few minutes ago.
I was just going to interject and say I can definitely attest to everything that Brice and Janine are saying, because I feel like in the last like 4 years or so, I've felt, I mean, I'm already young, but at the same time, I feel like my mind has just opened so much more, and I'm almost surprised at myself. But I was speaking to some friends the other day talking about how much freedom and how powerful I feel in taking responsibility, which is interesting. But just like taking responsibility over my choices and my direction of life, kind of like what Janine was saying. but I've never been at that place in life. And it's very different than what my family does, you know, how my family thinks about things. And because it's, you know, my family's pretty religious and closed-minded. And me and my sister both have been on this kind of journey of just like, wait a second, like our minds, like we never thought we would be in this place. But I'm excited for myself, if that makes sense. And I feel like I'm getting younger in my thoughts in a sense of, you know, it's like maturing backwards. You know,
Maturing backwards, yeah.
Yeah, that's just kind of how I visualize it. But I just wanted to say I can definitely vibe with that for sure.
Yeah.
Removing what doesn't serve you.
Yeah, exactly.
Reversing what does not serve you physically as well.
Exactly.
You know, we often say the healing is not the focus. The focus is expansion. The byproduct is healing.
Yeah.
New focus and the expansion could be, of course, your renewed cells.
Right.
Of course, yeah, that's great.
I hate to like change the vibe to more Debbie Downer stuff, but I have one question quickly. Do you mind, Tom, if I ask Janine just one question?
Yeah, go. Yeah.
So this is just for, I know Tom lives in a city. Obviously, I live in a big city. We have heard from both one and from another person who does like financial stuff. His name is Lou on YouTube, that the cities are about to get crazy and that there's a possibility from the financial guy that we should act, if we live in cities, we should think about getting out of cities. And I can see why, given what happened last summer. So my question is, should we consider getting out of our cities if we need to? And B, if we should, how long of a timeline do we have? It might not get as bad in London as it would here in the United States, but.
Interesting. Okay, I think a lot of things will change between now and in the next 4 years around,
Okay.
so I don't feel imminent rush out of the city.
Okay.
But I think a lot of things are going to look really, really different. We'll be a lot closer to nature somehow in the next, because that's Mother Earth and nature kind of card in the next. So this card is, so I was looking for urgency or cards that indicate rush the heck out of the city kind of. No, this is careful planning and looking ahead. This guy's careful, plans and looks ahead. So it might not be a good, bad idea. This card says looking at it from a place of safety. So I wouldn't rush. I would maybe start planning.
Yeah. Okay.
Take time and plan really well. You got about in the next 4 years might be a good idea. But
we had months, so
a lot will change in that time anyway.
okay. We've already started planning our move, but I just wanted to see if it was like imminent, like there was going to be something happening that needed us to get out before, but okay, good.
I'm not getting that per se, but this card says moving out of troubled waters. I think some of that could have been the case, but I said, well, what changed to make it not look urgent? So I'm not saying 107 or they were misleading you or whatever. I'm saying things are moving in a direction that's maybe improved some of that. And what I've been noticing is that things are happening a lot faster. Like what appeared to be 10 days of darkness and really scary event that might shut everything down for 10 to 30 days. And well, when we first started looking at it, and then it lightened and lightened, and it feels like we might have some discomforts for a much shorter amount of time. It's like as we wake up, grow, and shift things energetically and accept our responsibility for how things go and intend and visualize, we're changing the outcomes by the second. And that's why on my show, I'm mostly talking about how people think about things and to maybe start projecting how they want it to be, not how they fear it's going to be. The more we step away from fear's literally the tool of the dark hats. Yep. So if we don't give them our fear and we visualize how we want it to be, we're going to be in a lot better shape. So I feel as more people get on board with that and realize they create their own destiny and work together, like what the Hunas, is that the right word, are doing?
Huna, yeah, Hunas.
Hunas, what the Hunas are doing. So coming together with good leadership, and as groups of healers coming together, working on visualizing and, you know, closing negative portals, and you know what I mean? Like, as we do that work, everything shifts and changes for the better. So I don't think it's imminent to race out of the city just yet, but you know, unless you intuitively feel that.
Well, we are going to live in Florida, but just because Florida is awesome right now, but we're just getting tired of being in a liberal city anyway. But then we heard all these things and we're like, oh my God, should we just get out now? You know, because if things happen, are we going to get stuck here? You know, so, but thanks for that. That makes total sense. And yeah, if we stop fearing, my teacher in India always says, why fearing? Why fearing? If you stop fearing, you take their power away, you know, and you claim that power back, because that's just their power. So that's awesome. Yeah, everything's always shifting and changing too. So thanks for that.
Something about the 10 days of, sorry, go on, Janine.
I was just gonna say I had to kind of
Oh, sorry, Elizabeth, yeah.
question. So, and it might be the reason why I don't get a definite answer like intuitively is just because of what you said. Things are changing with our thought process, but this whole like food shortage thing, like I keep saying all this stuff about the food shortage, and I go back and forth between like, should I prepare? Should I not? I don't know where that lies. I'm just kind of, you know, wondering if that's going to be a thing for any period of time.
Oh, it was certainly planned to be a thing.
Okay.
And I feel like a lot of the plans, just like what happened with the scary illness, I'm gonna call it. Okay, that was planned, obviously, to be much more devastating.
Yeah.
And that didn't turn out. Like, I gotta be honest, I like calling out the dark hats on what a bad job they've been doing. Okay. Yeah, because they're falling flat. Okay, and if more of us believe and trust that, that'll help them fall flat. So let's get on board with that, everybody. Right? I like to go, you guys are really messing up, and maybe you should just throw in the towel, because they're literally, every one of their little dastardly plans is falling flat on its butt. And that includes their weather manipulation. Everybody's onto it. Their supposed global warming, which is probably the exact opposite. Nature's doing the exact opposite as far as I can tell, but I mean, I don't know for sure. But like, nature's way more powerful than that silly story that they're telling about what we're doing to the earth. And yes, of course, we can improve the way we handle things. Absolutely. But it's nothing like what they're presenting. That's just an agenda to funnel money into their projects that are obviously got some nefarious things going on, and they want a ton of money to funnel into it. And that's how they do it, through their deep state governments. And I believe all of that's just falling flat. And that includes their plan to everybody. They got outed. All the farmers outed them. They were
all over TikTok. Every farmer on TikTok is, guys, they're paying us to destroy this. Like, do something about it. You know, like they're not. Yeah,
I feel like they're literally like, there's going to be some things that are not going to be available. That's what I feel like. And the biggest thing that's going to happen is people are going to come together in communities and help each other, which will actually be very healing and good for humans. We had a terrible flood in Calgary. I think it was in 2013, or was it in 2012? I can't remember. And literally, it was the best thing that ever happened to the city. And a lot of people might be mad at me for saying that, but I've never seen the city come together in neighborhoods. Like, I was cooking for about 120 people a night. So me and about 6 other people using my place, which still had electricity, yet we flooded on a floor and a half. We flooded, but my kitchen was above that. So we still had electricity. We were told to shut it off. We didn't. We just cooked.
Nice.
And everybody came together, met at my place. We would go to stores that were closed down for days, and we would ask them to donate groceries. They did, and we'd take the groceries home. And I've never seen such cooperation. That we had big cook camps right in the middle of the city, and people would come and eat. And it was the best time Calgary's ever experienced. People were at their 1,000% best. So when really scary things happen and bad things happen, humanity can really step up. It's actually very healing. And if we start looking at it like, okay, I think we're trying to really see what we're really made of and how magical we really are. This is just a huge lesson we created for ourselves to stop being repressed by so-called dark hats who, by the way, like I said, are failing at every one of their little dastardly plans.
They're kind of pathetic at this point. They're kind of pathetic. So
Give up already.
So let's
Janine,
start.
you said about the 10 days of darkness a few minutes ago, and that's really interesting because I've mentioned this before, maybe not on our shows, but so another way to look at that. I'm not saying there won't be a 10 days of darkness. There could well be, in the way that it sounds like it's plausible, but also the 10 days of darkness equals 233. Which equals gold-backed digital currency, and it also equals John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And if you just say 10 days of darkness, if you take 33 off, you take the off, that comes to 200. 200 comes to Mount Rushmore. It comes to like a thief in the night, the biblical phrase, and it also comes to Westminster Abbey. So it's interesting that you brought that up, and it made me think of those particular numbers and how how things are kind of planned, and then how they kind of move and evolve, and as the collective consciousness is increasing, maybe things are going to be happier and gentler, quicker. Who knows? Hopefully. I did have a couple of questions for you as well, if we could look at briefly before we wrap up. I got a message this weekend about the Nuremberg trials, and apparently they were starting on July 4th. And the Nuremberg trials come to 182, which is a really important number that's been bandied around for a number of different values and meanings. One of them is the inauguration, 182. August 15th is 182. Steve Bannon spoke about the inauguration on August 15th. President Trump's birthday is June 14th, which comes to 182 as well. Cristiano Ronaldo, the soccer player here in the Euros is 78 Kennedy. He did this famous thing with Coca-Cola about a week or 2 weeks ago. He moved the Coca-Cola bottles. He had 2 of them. Coca-Cola's 53 plus 53, and then he got water. Anyway, 53 plus 53 plus water, 76, comes to 182 again. And so I've been looking at 182 for a while, but my friend Ben made me aware of the Nuremberg trials. So I wanted to see what the cards say on that. And then I wanted to look at a particular date when we come out of lockdown here in the UK, if we could do a second part to it.
I find it interesting that they'd call it that.
Okay.
Because isn't that kind of weird? Because it doesn't really,
yeah,
like style. Maybe it's Nuremberg style trials, but it really doesn't directly relate to Nuremberg, does it?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't really know enough about it, but I hear what you're saying about that. It sounds peculiar. Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. Okay. So this card says there's definitely something going on, but the universe doesn't want to give specifics. So that's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, doesn't want to give, and it has something to do with being brought to justice and legal things. So that trial related for sure. And something in the past has something to do with positive army forces. So armies for the good of humanity. So military rounding up and that sort of thing. I think that would have happened already in the past. So that's already happened. But I feel like it's something that's planned to go ahead at an undisclosed, like it's already in the planning and things are happening, but I don't see it has landed somewhere. And if it has, the universe doesn't want to tell us. So that's interesting. But there's a yes around the questions because aces are yeses. So it's going to happen,
Yeah.
something like what we're talking about here. But I feel like there's a lot of secrecy required around it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the link that was sent out it said, and it was weird because it was on July 4th, which is significant, but that was a Sunday this year. And from the time zone, it seemed like someone was there that was going to allow 100 people to view it. But obviously with all the groups, everything, the 100 people, it was filled up very quickly. So I don't know if that was someone just kind of prompting us or if literally 100 people got to view it, but they said it was the opening statements of the trial. And from the time that it looked like it was opening, it looked like it was going to be out on the west coast of America. That's what it looked like, which again was quite peculiar. I was like, so is that out in California? Where are they saying this? So there was a lot of peculiarity to it because I couldn't physically see it because the Zoom group was only 100 people. And whether that was really 100 people or not that actually got into it, I don't know. So maybe people can put that in the comments. I'm not sure, but it's interesting what you said about that. Yeah. So something's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it wants to be specific or that the thing specifically started yet. That's what I'm getting. But that's just
okay. Okay. Also, as well, here in the UK, we're supposed to be kind of ending everything in terms of, well, I say everything, most things in terms of restrictions like social distancing, wearing masks, and all the other nonsense. Seems to be, from what we can hear, they're telling us here that it's all going to end on the 19th. Of July, so July 19th, and I'm just wondering if you could maybe have a look at that, please, and see what you get with that. Is that, is that the case? If there are other things around it, what's the feel on that?
Well, that's an ending card.
Okay.
So that's looking good. It's looking really good. Yeah, I think they were looking for a certain response when they pushed it. And they got their response. I think they were looking for humans to really step up, and they got that with those gatherings you guys had.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like that is what created this to be a real thing. So
good.
The continued stepping up and saying no to this, I think, is a real necessity. They being the powers that be. And it's really interesting because there seems to be off-world energy watching what we're doing here.
Can I sneak that question before we go?
Yep.
Thanks, Jane. Very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's kind of like in that direction. So yeah, I go to the Netherlands next week on the 17th. I live in Mexico, in the Yucatan Peninsula. That's where I live. So the 17th, I leave to the Netherlands. Then I have workshops.
That's a big date, Huna.
July
17th is a big date, yeah.
It's Stargate number 17 as well. So it's aligned to the Stargate. Now, that's why I fly on the 17th. Now, so I go from the Netherlands. After that meeting's there, I go into the UK. I'm in the UK I arrive on the 21st. So, and then I go to Ireland after a week, and a week in Ireland at Tara Hill in Gorey County, Wexford County. And then I go to Norway. Now I'm teaching I'm teaching workshops on the 24th dimension and 24-strand DNA activation for the Lemurian golden chakra system. Now, I've done this before. I did it last year, and they've been asked me to come back. And so my question is, as Tom asked the right question, I'm going to ask the question on a direct, kind of a personal level. That do we see my travel through being successful all the way through and in back? Because it's kind of like, and I know we want to say yes, right? But let's just see where this meets, okay?
Okay, because you're going with really good intention, and what you're doing is a personal victory for humanity. So you're working for the good of the whole. You're going to have lots of protection, and people will come to your aid if you do run into some trouble, because there will be a few setbacks. But this is only a 5. 5s are in the tarot considered temporary setbacks and sort of frustrating. There could be a few holdups and setbacks just because everything, the whole system is just getting back online in a way around flying and everything, right? So it feels like there could be a few, so expect a few delays is what I'm thinking. And possibly one in particular could be a 4-hour delay, which, so sometimes happens. But generally speaking, really good. Really good. And so if you have patience and perseverance, everything ends up being exactly, you get there when you exactly need to be, even though there's a few holdups.
Right. Well, thank you. And I'm a bit of a pirate too, so I pirate around everything.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of answered both the questions in there. So one other question was for Tom before we go. The numbers for Maita. Now maybe Janine can also do something here.
Can you spell, please, Huna?
Maita, and it being the 13th month of the Lemurian calendar from the 28 days.
Maita.
And the fall of the Gregorian calendar as an operating system, being replaced by the Lemurian operating system. Is kind of
It seems ancient to me. It seems like it's already been in place on some level, and it was just hidden from us. So on some level, it's just a return back to something is what I'm getting. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does. I've been sharing it for a number of years now. That's 30 plus years.
Yeah.
It's taken, people have been purchasing that Lemurian calendar rapidly off my website.
Yeah.
And living by it. So they're putting the codes into the land, the water, and the sky. So
yeah,
yes.
am I saying it right, Matia?
Maita.
Mahita, Maita. So it comes to 44. A is 1, Z is 26. So yeah, it comes to 44, comes to Abraham, comes to faith, comes to hope, comes to the word jacks. It's like, President Trump kind of refers to that 44 quite a bit for the gaming when he does things, when he's playing and bringing everything about. So yeah, but Abraham Accord, he famously joked about wanting to call the Abraham Accord the Donald J. Trump Accord, but he said the press wouldn't like it, so I called it the Abraham Accord, and he was kind of winking at the camera, So yeah, Father Abraham bringing Jews, Muslims, Christians, everybody all together, So yeah.
So just as I leave here, Maita itself means from the first light, place the first light inside the first crystal, which means the first stone. And this planet being a crystal of northern and southern hemispheres, that 13th month is an energy that's placed into the light of all civilizations of all universes. It's not just the 13th month for a cycle. It's actually and so when you say the Jewish, and all the cultures and all the religions going into all of it's the Christ light of the 13th month. Yeah, so it's spoken in the Lemurian as Maita.
That's a beautiful topic to end it today, because that's gorgeous. And I would love to do this roundtable again, guys, especially having both Huna and Janine here. It's like powerful. So
it'd be great to. I would like to connect to Janine more and all of you. I tried to connect to your Instagram, Janine, but didn't happen to connect. And I have a light table which goes live. I do the light table live on my channel. So maybe one day we can do a light table, all of us. And
great.
Beautiful.
I wanted to say, I love that you're using 13 because it's taking back a number that's been taken by the dark hats. They take all of these things and turn them bad, and they're not bad. Like they tried to turn tarot bad because they wanted it all to themselves.
Yeah.
But then good light workers studied tarot, like myself, like some really good people I know. And we took it back as a tool because they don't get to have all the good spiritual tools and turn them evil. Okay, so I love that you took 13 number back too. It's beautiful.
The meaning of tarot in Lemurian language, Ta means the first stone of the crystal, and Ro means the expansive space, the eternal infinite space. Ta Ro, and it's also a very, it's also a root vegetation that we consume in Lemuria and Polynesian Triangle. Most of us eat the taro, which is a root. It's a very, very nutritious root. So yeah, there you go. It's returning the goodness, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Going back to as well, Huna and Janine, about Matia. Am I saying it right? I'm not.
Yeah,
am I saying it right? Matia. So 44, Abraham. But the whole thing of Mahita. So again, and Janine mentions tarot. So tarot comes to 74. 74 comes to Muhammad, so the Muslims. Messiah comes to 74, which is the Jews. And 74 comes to Jesus, which is the Christians. And President Trump did the Abraham Accord, which is 44. And he was age 74, throughout this double period of 2020 and 2021. Now he's become 75, which is funding, and another value that I can't remember we spoke about earlier. But yeah, so yeah, it all dovetails in nicely, tarot, Muhammad, Messiah, Christian, all of it. Sorry, not Christian, Jesus, all of it, they all come together. So yeah.
Guys, I hate to cut this short, but I got to jump on another call here. So
yeah, it's good time to cut. Yeah, it's good, Brice. Yeah, it's good.
Awesome. But I definitely want to do this again. And I'm going to invite you all to come back again, because this is unbelievable. I love this. I love having all you guys together, because this was such an episode of good news, so the best being yet to come. So I guess I'll talk to you guys all soon.
Okay.
Thanks, Brice. Yeah, well, thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks, Janine. Thanks, Huna.
See you, mate.